Hello and welcome, Luminous Beings. Today I have a very interesting show with two beautiful, beautiful souls that I've just met. Their names are Peter, Maxwell Slattery, and Solreta Antaria. Is that how you say it, Solreta?
Yeah, good job.
Welcome.
How you doing? Cheers.
I'm super, super excited about this because it's going to expand your mind, or actually probably blow your mind. I imagine most of my audience wouldn't have a clue who you are. So do you both want to just give like a little tiny intro as to who you are and what you're about and what you're doing for the world?
You want to go first?
No, I think you go first.
Ladies first.
That's it.
So, I guess it all started for me. So my main work now is psychic work, but it's more as an ET communicator, so working with extraterrestrial communications. So I speak star language, it's a universal language of light that's, it's not translated word for word like you would, the English language into Spanish or something. It's more a language that's translated through like empathic feelings. So when you hear the language, it's more that you get feelings or visions kind of wash over you, or you feel that you're held in a certain space. And quite often people report, messages or, a certain feeling. So I do get like a bit of an English translation or a feeling that comes through with that. So that and aura drawings with psychic readings are my main work. So I've seen auras since I was really young, and my 3 kids see auras too. And I just love what I do. I love meeting all the different beings. So I work with people and tune into the energies around them, tune into their guides, and the ET beings that are around them, and bring through messages, sort of, keeping them on their spiritual path, and just sort of shining a little bit of light on that. Yeah. There you go.
I don't know what the hell I do.
That's why I didn't plan an intro.
I don't know. Like I'm an author. Like Sol's got a book out now too, but I've authored I think 6 or 7 books now.
7.
Done a few documentaries, but my experiences started at a young age with what people would call otherworldly beings, aliens, whatever people want to term it. I think it's a lot more far out than that. But I think it's less complicated as you have more experiences. It's just, reconnecting with your own God self, really, and that sort of thing. But I film a lot of crafts, UFOs, what people would call. I have a lot of interactions with what I've come to understand are really other facets of myself, these other beings. Some of the beings that I'm interacting with are actually I'm connected to, and they're not another facet of myself, but they're from other realms and that. And through that, I've come to have a greater understanding of how things are connected, though I think we're all still trying to work out what the hell's going on and why we're here and what we're doing. But I help bring in people's guides, similar to what Soul does, but differently. So I can bring in people's guides, get them connected, and that's what it's about, getting people their own connection, which I've been directed to do this in terms of it's what I want to do, it's not what I'm being told to do, though I've had to go through this journey to understand that. So I'm not sure what it is that I do, but I just do whatever I do, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't know.
It does. You do lots of things.
And you've also got your YouTube channel as well, which you have a lot of interesting guests on.
Yeah.
Super interesting, and so many different subjects. It's really interesting. I'll put the link under here, so if people want to go and check it out, they can do that. So how this relates to Luminous Youth, people are probably wondering. There's a lot of talk around, especially at the moment, there's more and more talk about, like this new wave of children coming through. And I feel like, in truth, there's been lots of waves of children coming through for eons. But right now we're in a stage where it seems to be escalating and a big shift going on. So, like, what do you think this wave is about? In your experience, what do you think this wave is about? And what do you think they're bringing to us? What
do you want to take?
Just, I guess, in what I've seen in my own personal practice, because I'm a kinesiologist as well. So just seeing some of the children that I've seen over the last probably 10 years, and I've experienced many different variety of the waves. One of the most memorable children was a boy who was disabled. He could only like stand for a short amount of time, couldn't actually communicate. When he did, it was mainly like with sort of, murmuring noises or waving back and forth. But his level of telepathy was just, it surpassed anything that I'd ever seen. He could tell me the name of his little white dog called Charlie, that he had a yellow balloon in his room, he had a water fountain in his room. He was telling me, he's like, my family aren't turning it on. Can you tell them like to turn it on for me? And all of these things that he was saying that there's no possible way, having just met him and, him not actually speaking, that I would have known. So I've seen kids that are like that. And that's a lot of the time, like with the autistic children and Asperger's, not all of them, but a large majority, do have such an expanded soul that it's like they can't fit everything into the human body computer. So it's like a lot of their souls still exist outside of it. So in a way, sometimes for them to live here on Earth, they do kind of have to go into their own world or their own, little focus. But even with some of the other kids that I've been working with kinesiology too, it's interesting. I've got one client that's about 7 months old, and I work with her sisters as well. And the girls are really fast to balance. So a normal session goes for about an hour. And sometimes, one of the girls might take 40 minutes, another one might be 20 minutes. But this new little one who's only 7 months old, it's literally, I think it was a 15-minute balance I did on her the other day, which worked with the full body. And then when I had to hold like correction points at the end, it was literally just 2-second touch. When working with someone older, it might be, you touch for a minute. It was like a 2-second touch, and it was just reminding her of the connection. They're already so connected and plugged in. It's more that we just need to guide and help them remember that they're plugged in. A lot of them have sort of, come here a little bit stunned and a little bit shocked, and it's just reminding them that they're, they're safe and they're okay. And just, I look at it from a point of, nutrition and like emotional support, and also, anything that you can do to support them in who they're supposed to be. Yeah. But if we can get those, two foundations right with nutrition and also like the emotional support, working with, like affirmations or bark flowers, things like that can really bring about big change. I feel like that we can help them to be who they're supposed to be a lot more. And then that's going to then step up and kick up, global consciousness and sort of, connect grids and things as well. Because a lot of them across the world do talk about experiencing similar things like going to fairy school at night time, or whether they talk about, communicating with similar beings across the world. That's what I find really interesting, is the linking up across the world with these kids and like with the certain ways that they talk about specific things. Yeah. So that's sort of like a little rundown on what I see happening. What about you?
Yeah, I just think it's time for people to get with the program in terms of the kids are really the teachers now. And the sooner we realise that and pull the ego and the adult thing, like we're basically, the adults now are basically the minders. And like I'm 31 myself, and a lot of the people that are older than me in this field go, oh, you're so awake. And I'm like, you should see the kids I'm talking to, because they make all of us look like we don't have a frigging clue and we're not connected with our, other facets. But we're all living multiple lives at the same time, but it seems that the lives that are living the most, I hate using levels, but you would say the most high vibrational type lives, it's split up and coming down here. And this is the waves, and each wave has got the higher energy coming through. Yeah. Because we're breaking through, and I don't want to go too much into a term because I'll have to explain hours into what's going on at another level, which I'm still trying to understand, but there's an energy network here, and we're trying to raise the level of consciousness here. So it's almost like an evolution type thing which is being put on us. But to do this, the kids are appearing like they've got ADHD, they're appearing that they've got Asperger's and all this other stuff. And it's because the brain is being activated and used electronically, because there's all these billions of electrons going around every second, but how it's firing and being worked is different to what the body computer is used to, because you've got a higher energy spirit. Because this is all the same, these are all the same body computers, but when you've got the spirit, the program, the driving force in it, yeah. the way things are done, like it's hard here, like it's dense, it's limited, and the kids are appearing like they might be disabled or whatever, but they're not being nurtured and cared for in a way that they should be. And I think at the same time, they need to be given more things to do in terms of video games, and maths isn't enough anymore in terms of their brain, because their brain, it's like women. Women can do multiple things at once. I know that, right? So if you put some, like even these young boys and young girls, like the shit they can do at once.
Yes.
Because their mind's just going, like they can do it.
Yes.
So whether it's pulling apart or putting together or doing projects or just stuff for the fun of it, getting them out in nature, you've got to sort of multitask them to multitask themselves in terms of the activity they've got to do. I'll leave it there for the moment. I'm just trying to explain the best that I can in terms of what we're noticing with the new kids.
Yeah. And a lot of adults that I've spoken to about this sort of thing, as children, have found a lot of their experiences quite scary and traumatizing. What advice would you guys have for either adults who have experience and how they can integrate? I know this is a really big question, but how they can integrate that, but also parents, I suppose, who have children who are experiencing these things and saying, oh, there's, something under my bed, or I'm seeing, something with big eyes, and they either haven't had those experiences or have shut them down through trauma. How do you, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's really important, because it seems to be happening more and more. And like you were just saying then, if we don't help these children through and start talking about this kind of thing, it does end up in trauma. And
yeah. I guess for me, I grew up having experiences from such a young age, even up to about sort of 16, 17. I was still going to my parents' room nearly every night because I was seeing, different geometries, different beings in the room, and sensing different spirit and having, contact experience. For me, what I found when I had my own children too, was just to, talk about things. And sometimes it's even just validating, if they are saying that there's something in my room, because for me that was never validated. And it was always, you're just imagining it, but also teaching them tools, and as a parent, learning like how to clear energy. That I would say is like one of the big ones. So my kids have had a very different experience with, what they see and sense, and that in the terms of, that we do a lot of energy clearing. So it's not necessarily attracting anything that's kind of negative. And also, again, like I've worked with them with the bark flower essences, even just if you can get rescue remedy and have that in the house for if they do experience something, and aromatherapy, things that are going to make them feel calm and relaxed and peaceful, even crystals. And even one of my kids, when she used to sort of get a bit scared when there was stuff, and because, I've grown up seeing stuff, so I can actually see if there's things in the room when the kids are saying, oh, such and such happened. We used to make up like a magic fairy spray that was, a few essential oils that were for calming and, and to relax. And just, if I can keep them in that sort of state and keep them out of fear, so through validating, okay, well, you had this experience and, would you like to tell me about it? Things like that. Also, I do what's called sleep talk. So when the kids are probably about 20 minutes into like sleep, they're sort of going into a deeper brainwave state. And that's where if they're having any issues or problems, I'll talk to them in a positive manner. So making sure that, they know that they're loved. That's like the most important main thing, is that they know that they're loved.
She should be brainwashing for the CIA or something.
Do it to him too.
Oh,
yeah, I don't.
You love me.
You do love me.
I should. I've just got an idea now. But no, I think that's the main thing. And just letting them know that they're safe. And also just encouraging anything that I see like as a talent in them, and just letting them know, that they're on the right path too. I think that's a big thing for kids, is just letting them know that they're loved, safe, and on the right path.
And I think set an example, like we have stuff, I try to get all the activity to come up to Sol or myself, because it's like unless the kids are meant to handle it and you're trying to get through to someone here, what are you here for? Come to me.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather you scare the crap out of me or, because there's different beings and different things, and I'm working with the kids guys on another level.
It's not always scary.
But this is what it's portrayed. So the kids know.
But normalising as well has been a big thing for us, making it normal, like within the house. Like
since being with them, they had a couple of sightings before Sol and I got together, but now they're seeing crafts over the friggin' house, and you can see in my documentary, they're like, Mum, I'm scared, because the craft's right above us, and it's like, to me...
That was her first, my middle daughter, she's 8, and that was her first big one that she'd seen at night, and she's like, I'm scared. I'm like, honey, it just looks like glowing like a fairy light. It's not scary. And she goes, they're coming to get me. And I'm like, look, they're going over you. They're nowhere near you. She goes, oh. Okay. And now... now they know, and
because it's different levels.
They get excited.
Different levels. Yeah.
They get excited more than anything.
But I think the kids need to know. I've had lots of parents, and I've communicated with some of these kids, as I said, and I had one. I won't say where it was, but in country Victoria, parents get in contact, and they think all this is a load of crap, and then they talk to me, and then. Like, they see that I'm grounded and that, there might be something to this. And all of a sudden, because I know a bit about physics, I've got a advanced physics certificate and chemistry and that. And I'm looking at this stuff they're showing me, and this is physics that I know it's physics, but I don't get it. And I've sent it off to other people, and it's got to do with propulsion and time travel. And they're like, we haven't got technology to do this. And these equations are real. Where'd you get it from? It's like a 7-year-old, And that's child's play for them. But on the other hand, I've had parents get in contact and they try to take the piss out of me, but then they're talking to me going, well, I think my kid's going about the boogeyman or something in the cupboard. And I'm like, you know what? I said, there's a 50% chance or more that there friggin' is something in there, and you're acting like an asshole and they don't know what to do. Yeah. Which I think was the case with me in terms of I had a loving family. They split up when I was 4, but when they got their partners and that around the ages of 7 or 8, when my experiences, what I think started, because I believe we're in tune the whole time.
Yeah, I'd love you to go into that. I'd love you to go into that, like your experiences and how you grew up and how you handled it.
Well, I've got memory of being way more in tune before the ages of 8, but I can't. It's like what happened was, I was told by enough people that this is all there is to life and the religious taint and all that crap that over time it's deprogrammed out. I've got some pretty early memories. I've got past life recollection, and I've got my agreement coming here and all that, which wasn't really agreement. It's like, you need help, I'll go. Yeah. But it's different. So you've got some experiences that always know and are always having interactions like soul, and many people have had on my show because I'll ask a lot of people, when did your experiences start? And a lot of them will say they've always happened. But they had a hard friggin' time because they're told this doesn't exist. It's their mind playing up. In my case, I was a very hypo kid because I was high energy. So at the ages of 8, I started to interact with these white, ashy looking colour greys, which I know now work for a council of the whole. They're sort of mediators, very similar to mantis, but they don't care. They're created and their intelligence, they're not robotic, and they overlook everything and they can go to any vibration. Right. Now, there was times when, to ease me into it, they would come in the room and appear as Kurt Cobain, because my brother was into that and I loved Nirvana. And I'm like, shit, this dude's meant to be dead. And then all of a sudden, I would start to see, it was almost like a vibration between a grey and Kurt Cobain, like somebody's tuning it, and I started to see what Kurt Cobain really was. Not, of course he was a dude that, that lived here, but they were portraying that so I could handle it and ease me into, hey, you're losing a connection because you're getting programmed. Remember this. And then at the age of 12, I had a huge experience with the craft, 3 times the size of a football field. And then about 10 years after that, or around that, something like that, I've got the dates written down in the books, or the time of the year, of certain years. I had sightings with people, and then 2010 is when everything started back up, which is a whole nother story in terms of where everything happened. But I was deprogrammed for some years, but there was enough activation done to make me wonder what my connection is, what's going on. So I was the reason why I told no one about any of this is because of they was, always said I'm hyperactive, it's my imagination. Now, with these things, I didn't equate them to demons, to angels, to aliens. I was just like, what the hell is this? And I'd never seen anything like it. Even when, like, years later down the track with movies, nothing was exactly what I saw, so I didn't think of it as alien. But the point of this is that people are either one, that they're told it's their imagination.
Yes.
And they know this isn't their imagination, they've got to shut up, which is Sol's case.
I got told when I was in kinder, I think around age 4, just not to talk about any of this stuff. And it must have been from guides or beings that were, looking out for me and protecting me, because I don't even know how I knew what getting locked up, and in a crazy house meant. But I knew at the same time that if I really talked about this, sort of publicly, that it could lead down that way. And also to mention, Pete and I both been labelled dyslexic when we were younger too. So there is a lot of experiences out there, and kids that are awakened that get labels, such as ADD or dyslexic, things like that. And it is that our brain operates in a different fashion. So we can't really conform to the whole mainstream way of education and teaching.
No, definitely. Like, I guess the points to put across here is, like, myself, people are told to shut up and not talk about or it's their imagination. Now, I was a rap artist for a few years, and I brought out a few albums, and I've been outspoken. I've hanged around gangsters and bikers, and I've done all the crazy stuff, and nothing phases me. Which is why I know now that I was given this role to affect a lot of the places I walked in. Some of the darkest places in Melbourne and Sydney, some of these Scanland connections. I've walked in those areas. I've been able to affect people in those areas and go, this is all crap. It's all crap. It really is, and I've seen that, but I wouldn't have been able to do the job otherwise. Now, these days, unless you're going to hurt somebody physically, yourself or someone else, they can't lock you up. My doctors and everyone knows about this, but for the kids, this is what I want parents to know, is that let the kids, even if you think this is a load of crap, let your kids use you as a safe house and event for their experiences. Because what we've got here now is a two-way thing where, all right, we're saying don't let your kids know that they're crazy, get them to talk, but let them know who they can talk to.
Yes.
Because at the same time, these kids need to be protected, because some of these kids, whether it's science, whether it's spirituality, whether it's abilities like telepathy and levitation, some of these kids are like, literally like, they make Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha look like nothing in terms of their abilities.
Yeah.
Because they come in like that. They come in switched on. So what I'm saying is you don't want to deprogram that. And if it's your perception that this is a load of crap, that's your problem as a parent and as a supposed teacher. But you want the kids to harness these abilities at their own rate and let them know they're not crazy, but you want to protect them so they know who to talk to, so they can talk to somebody like myself and Rodwell that will never disclose their name or put them out publicly, or the wrong family member, which is going to ring up the docs or mental health system and go, this kid's off his friggin' nut. And because their perception of reality is this is a load of crap, something could happen that, they might get taken off the parent or...
Yes.
And this is where parents really need to play their game tight. Anybody that meets Soul, it's funny if they don't know who Soul is, they just go, when they find out, they're like, shit, you're so grounded, you actually make being a psychic look normal. Where, you get some psychics and they're away with the fairies and leprechauns and dolphins and all that sort of thing, but she's grounded in what she does, and that's the difference where,
And I sort of fought like that label for a long time until I just thought, well, it's the only sort of banner or umbrella that I can use to kind of describe what I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just, I just wanted to stress that it's like, some of these parents out there thinking about the boogeyman or weird noises or the kids are saying they're going in their room and something's walking out of the frigging closet or walking through the walls. I've talked to that many people and even other experiences where they've heard about, like, they've gone into the room to check on their kid and they're seeing beings around with the kid and it's like you're told to go away because the being's working with the kid. And it's like, as a parent, you sort of up into your hands like, oh, I'm the parent, but it's like if you get the other side and how reincarnation and experiences and all that work, or you've got an idea, you'll be like, oh, well, that's their crew.
Yeah.
They're doing what they're doing, where other people will be absolutely freaking out and whatnot. So this is where there's fine lines, but I think protection of the kids, letting the kids know they're not crazy. Because it screws with a lot of people. Either you'll shut up like me and go withdrawn within. A lot of these people have committed suicide when they've got older. They've taken a shitload of drugs and just can't stop getting off it because they don't want to think.
Yes.
I smoked a lot of dope in my early years and experimented with a lot of things, and I'll be up front, it's because I didn't want to think.
Yes.
I didn't want to think, and the stuff that tripped me out more than the lights in the sky, and that was the high strangeness activity. So shadow men in the house, objects moving, shit that you think's paranormal, and this is where I've talked to a lot of the field in terms of I'm trying to bring the ghost hunting and UFO field together because the abduction phenomena and the haunting in the house are very similar. So sometimes it's actually a haunting, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
You know, so this is where we really need to let kids know that they're not crazy, who to talk to, who not to talk to.
Also,
yeah.
Also, some other advice is getting them to draw some of their experiences.
Yeah.
Or even if they're older, to write it down, maybe keep a diary. And then they can look back and reflect on that and go, oh, when this happened, this actually relates to this, or this means such and such. And they'll get like a bigger version or a bigger picture of who they are as a soul. And that's going to make their life here a lot easier, you know, both like sort of day to day, but also like knowing what career or what job to go into as well.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time we don't fit into like mainstream boxes of, you know, I'm going to go be a plumber or things like that.
Or 9 to 5, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not that there's anything
and
wrong
that's
with
very
being
real.
a plumber.
Like, it's almost impossible for that to be. Like, for people like us to actually work 9 to 5. You have to drug yourself or something to be able to fit into that.
Or even play, you know, pretend like you're an actor and play a role.
Yeah.
And there's something so that you can actually do that for before you do feel a little bit crazy. But I also, you know, looking through job listings and things like that when I was younger, there's no way I was going to find like ET communicator on like Seek or anything like that for job search. Yeah. So a lot of the new kids will be creating their own jobs.
Yes.
And we'll be leading the way in, you know, new technologies, new healing, you know, dynamics, all sorts of things like that. And also, you know, new forms of nutrition and things too.
Yes. Yes, and I'd love to add to this conversation that I think it's the responsibility of parents, if their children are having these kind of experiences and they're not familiar with it, it's not something they're comfortable with or familiar with. There is so much information out there. So to educate themselves rather than judge it or shut it down and just, pretend that's not happening. There is now a lot of information out there. People like yourself and Mary Rodwell, who I did another interview with, are really great people with grounded information, backed by science and backed by, like with your work, photos, videos, so that they're coming from an educated place.
Definitely, they need to educate themselves. I think if they go down the fear way, it's really being perpetrated that way by the powers that be that know all this. And we could go into conspiracy, which it's beyond a conspiracy. Yeah. And that's what I said on Sunrise. This is no conspiracy because the amount of beings and intelligence interacting with this is no small thing.
Yes.
But the kids need to really know that they're not crazy. And this is where the parents need to educate themselves in such a way where if they talk to myself or looked at my body of work or Mary's and they're still on a fear factor, it means they're not digesting the frigging information in a productive manner, which is there is negative stuff out there. Now, this is really important because I downloaded this in the last minute when you were talking, and this is that right now the kids need to be empowered and connect with themselves and not deprogrammed right now because the only negative force that can really harm them is human in terms of military. Now, I've had military interaction and other stuff. But what I'm getting from this download is if the kids are empowered, these things can't touch them if it's done in such a way where they're connected that much with their own God self and their star nations and the other dimensions that the military just can't do a frigging thing to them. Like, I've got scars on the side of me and stuff that the military have done to me and they've tried brainwashing me and I've proved people in these in the military to be full of crap with the information they're given. They thought that they were at the top. So the only thing that people need to know is that the kids need to be empowered in what they're doing, and therefore the parents need to educate themselves. Be aware of both positive and serving and self-serving natures out there, but isn't it a beautiful thing to know that you don't die, that this isn't it, and that we're here at a special time to help? And a lot of people are here just for energy. They don't have to do anything else. They're here to connect with the energy grid. They just by being here, they're doing exactly, and it's so important that we can't pull this off without them. Mm-hmm. But the parents really need to educate themselves, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like if you find out your kid's got whatever disease, you're a friggin' idiot if you don't go and research as much as you can on that disease, so you're educated on what they need, what they don't need, and myths and facts, about surrounding
and using your intuition too on what you feel, you're drawn to, or what feels right for you and your child. Because, a lot of the time we do just go by one person's advice. Yes. So it is good, like you're saying, to really research what's out there and look for, a wider vision or a wider view of things. Because a lot of the time, to do with looking back at our past history, and when there has been sort of like a breakout in consciousness or a revolution, there is also that suppression that's going on at the same time. So if you look at things nowadays, like there's a lot of, mass media type stuff just to kind of occupy and distract as well. Yes. And if we take a minute to kind of shut that stuff out of our lives too, and really get back in touch with nature and back in touch with who we are as a soul, there's so much more empowerment that can come with that, and the lessons that come with that too. And also the sense of getting back to that soul essence and that soul energy. Sometimes that's enough, even without seeking sort of outside yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to invite parents who are having these experiences and maybe feeling challenged by it to look at it like the most amazing spiritual journey with this tiny little guru that's entered your life. Because if it's seen like that, it's a learning experience, and the child will benefit by feeling empowered and seeing you always learning and growing. And you will also benefit by growing and learning so much more about yourself than you could ever find in any book. But it's equally as important, I think, to find people that you can relate to that maybe are a little bit further along the path, and then use your own intuition as to who you listen to and go with. Yeah. And also to align yourself with others that, you have a sort of like a sounding board or a support network, whether they're other parents that are going through similar things. Yeah. And that's what we find really helps us with our experiences, and having each other, going through very similar things. That helps to make you feel a bit more sane and to help keep you grounded here on Earth too, don't you think?
Yeah. Both of us having experiences of seeing the same stuff, and even other today I've got over 100 witnesses to events around me, way more than that. I don't even know where it's getting. I've lost count, but that many people witnessing stuff that it makes you feel sane when it happens, because we do have that doubt every now and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, you shouldn't do that because now we're going to give you a really good sighting or interaction, and everyone's going to say, you know what I mean? It's like they whoop your ass, but it's, it is hard, and people need to realise that there's a good chance that if your kid or you are having interactions, other family members and their kids are too, or the parents are. So if the kid's experiencing stuff, a lot of the time the parents are. And
grandparents. But
it's like as if the kids are activated that to unlock the mind to this reality, because they've been deprogrammed at such an early age or through an event that it's just been blocked out. It's just hasn't been on the radar. So
we've got one example of that in a photo of me with my grandfather. I think I was about 2 in the photo. But doing the regression with Mary Rodwell, she took me back to age 4, and I was having these experiences with look like ant beings, and then to come out of that regression and having seen their faces and things over me at nighttime and working on me, I came out of the regression, and a friend pointed out what I was actually describing in my regression appeared in a photo of me at age 2 with my grandfather.
He was a US Marine as well.
And it was
the
the exact being that I'd seen in the regression, just in the background of this black and white picture. It's incredible to have, things like that, and then to see the physical side of it.
And do you find, I find the more you opening to that memory, then they will support you with some solid evidence, so that you kind of take a step and then they'll bring something to you, so that it's...
Depends on the intent part. So if the intent's pure, it's like, look, the more you work on yourself and meet us halfway, we'll give you that shit. Because you know that shit, that doesn't matter, but we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it depends on the intent too. Or... In the beginning with me, they kick your ass because you're not waking up or seeing the signs that they will do everything. They will appear physically, they will take you, they will, what seems like abduct you, they'll do whatever they can to get your attention.
Yes.
So it's something that if you've agreed upon to be working in these realms and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, they will basically beat the crap out of you in terms of experiences. But see, I wouldn't have had to go through that if I was, as a kid, not programmed. Because I would have been doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But then again, everything happens how it's supposed to,
So he had more physical stuff happen from seeing physical sightings and that, whereas mine was more on another level, more on sort of like an etheric astral level.
Yes.
So having beings appear sort of semi-translucent in my room, also more like feeling them, things like that. So it was more like on a psychic kind of level. And also having teacher guides type appear and teach me different things. But I think also my experience is different because you know how we talk about not shutting the kids down, not suppressing and that. I guess with my family, they didn't believe that I was having experiences and things like that. But I think because, I don't know if it's just my astrology and things, with being a Leo and really sort of no, I believe it. And, not willing to let go of things like that. I think for me, stuff, because I was so fearful as well, it's that almost trapped me into being so open and awake that I was on lookout all the time, that I just saw stuff all the time, which for a lot of kids they will kind of throw the doona over their head and really try and shut down.
I was one of them.
But for me it actually made me more open.
Right.
So it's a weird flip side thing. But I know that if I'd felt more supported and able to talk to someone about these experiences, because it wasn't until I was 15 that I actually met someone who could explain what it was I was seeing. So I started going to kinesiology for dyslexia, and he said to my mum, she's actually really psychic. She is actually seeing things in her room, and just having someone validate that with that one sentence, all of a sudden, just like a wall of fear was knocked down. I mean, I still had little residue of fear, but it shifted so much for me.
It was other people's program.
It was. And just having someone to validate that, I'm not crazy and that I am actually having experiences and it's energy that I'm seeing a lot of the time. It just changed me. And it allowed me to grow more as a soul too. And I think if we can do that with the kids of today as well, just imagine some of them, like Pete said, do have telepathy, do have telekinesis, things like that. And are very, highly advanced, they're little Buddhas. And if we can, nurture that to the best of our abilities and encourage and nurture their abilities, it's just, you can see the world being a totally different, connected place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you can feel the energy of that too.
And once you're connected, it's beautiful. Even today, we've had beings walking throughout the house. We've seen some amazing sightings we've had this week, and even I think the start of February we filmed 2 crafts over the house in broad daylight.
Oh, and we're just January 22nd it was. That's up on YouTube.
Oh no, the daytime one was the 8th of February, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking the nighttime.
We've had that. That's what I mean. We've got that much going on, and we're in Melbourne. I've moved from the bush to the city, and I'm getting more interactions now, and people are experiencing this as well. We're connecting up with that. It's once you start to walk in your power, things are amazing. I've talked to Mary about this before, Mary Rodwell, and it's funny that if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, your soul journey, embrace your own qualities, they will kick your ass. It's like there'll be roadblocks after roadblock put in front of you. But once you start to do what, it's like as if you're not even trying to do anything, but you're following your heart, you're following your bliss, everything just connects up.
Yeah.
And that's where it's a beautiful thing, because you don't even have to try. And, it's a beautiful thing, but it's getting to that point and deprogramming and connecting with your own self where that all starts. It's not like you blame the government or you blame your parents or whatever for your life. You start to take some responsibility and start, basically work on yourself, and that will project and manifest outside of you. So this is where parents really need to take that on board, that if they want what's best for their kids, they've got to start giving themselves the best of them, which women need to do more than anyone, because women look after everyone. And a lot of the time, until the kids leave home or whatever, the mum's like, shit, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And it's out of their heart, but it's like they've got to have a balance of looking after them, exercise, social time, friend time, spiritual time, balance. And this is where, if the kids see that in the parents, and especially the mum, and this isn't putting women down, it's because they look after everyone, it's like maybe that's going to wear off on the kids, and that will be an example for the kids as well.
Absolutely.
Because we're in a society where it's, for the first time in so long, the male and female energies are going like this. It's because they're starting to align. So it's not like the women are more powerful than the men and vice versa. They're going back, I think, 20,000 years ago, women were running the show, and that was even out of whack then.
Yeah.
But now everything is going like this, and it's a big example to the kids to see this as well.
That's also reflected, we see a lot more androgynous looking people as well, and so that's reflected in that. And that's to do with like a reflection of the consciousness that's going on. But one message that keeps coming to mind as well, to do with like making things easier for these kids and also for ourselves as parents, is, just let things come into alignment. So much of the time, we try and resist things, or we try and control and manipulate things to go a certain way. And if we can let things flow naturally into alignment, it's like more of the opportunities that we're supposed to have, and more of the people that are supposed to be around us will come into alignment. The more crap that's going to fall away, the more that you're going to get surprised with, beautiful, amazing experiences and things happening. And it's like the more doors that can actually open for us as well. And it's like, it might not be exactly in the way that you planned, but it will actually supersede what our expectations are.
And people really need to remember that are having experiences, or the love and light people, they have to remember that you're here to have one foot in the spiritual realm and one foot on earth, because you've come down the dimensions and down the planes of this physical realm to partake in the human experience. Because a lot of the time, these love and light people, it's like the way they act, they might as well go back home, because they're here for a reason and they forget that. And this is where we need to be grounded and realise we're here, we're all playing an important part, and have a connection. But try to balance the connection with whatever you're interacting with your interaction in this realm, because you're trying to bring those, like the traits of those realities through to here. So love and light's all cool, but having a balance, again, it comes back to balance.
You still poo.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still poo.
Yeah.
I suppose this kind of leads me to the thought of how all of this stuff that we've been talking about, how school affects this. Because it is very, it's kind of hard to just follow your bliss in school, or, like look into your gifts and really, work on that. It seems a very, bell rings, you do this, bell rings, you stop doing that. It doesn't feel like anything like what we've been talking about. So how do you feel schooling affects all of this that we're talking about?
Just from an outside perspective, just starting to have the kids in my lives and everything, I've talked about this with Sol, and I support whatever Sol wants to do in terms of education. Mm-hmm. I personally, like, the kids go to a Steiner school. Mm-hmm. I still see that as a program. Mm-hmm. Just personally, that's me.
I know, it still is to an extent.
But it's still better than something else. But, look, school is designed, and it was set up by the powers that be because they knew where the populations were getting about in the late 1800s that we need to start educating. There's going to be so much we need to recycle this energy. What do? We send them somewhere for 5 days a week, and then by the time it's the frigging weekend, they play sport and got no... And then they go to church, which we made up, just so it's all set up of don't question, sit down, shut up, you don't do this, you're going to hell. So there's this program of 5 days a week, sport on the weekends, or spirituality, what they think is spirituality, then it's a recycle. And what this has done has programmed and put people in a prison where they don't see the bars because they think they're free. What best way to have a prison than when you think you're free? So I can't see, like, I'll tell you what, and I'll let you take it from here. I don't know what to do about this, but I know that the change starts within, and the more of us that do it, the more in a collective it will change. But the hardest thing for me, personally, and it has brought me to tears, is learning that nearly every friggin' thing we're taught is a lie. About Egypt, about American history, about Australian history. That, like Stephen and Evan Strong have had on my show, the Egyptian Aboriginal connection going back so long. I showed this to my dad, and my dad's paradigm was broken down with 10 minutes, and he's like, shit, is this... I'm like, yeah, this is real. And right now, like Americans, mate, and this is not putting down Americans, I've got a lot of American friends, but Americans learn about American history. In Australia, we learn about Egyptian history, American history, European and English history. We think it's world cultured. It ain't. It's what they want you to know. Yeah. And it's the same in America, and it's the same in any other culture. And that's been the hardest thing for me to go, shit, everything I've been taught in school. It's even like the physics and mathematics. It's going to get you somewhere, but it's limited because we don't want you to go here. Yeah. You know, people go on about quantum mechanics. I think quantum mechanics is the gateway for the next realm of physics, which is really consciousness. But what do you think about education? Because that's all I can really say on it, being where I'm at the time. But
yeah. Just from my own, personal perspective as well, I literally remember, I think it was about grade 1, and I just thought, I don't need to learn any of this crap. This is all just crap. And this was mainly in maths, just going, yep, I'm choosing to switch off that part of my brain. I don't need that. That's not what I need for this experience here. But I just remember school being a place where it taught me to go into my daydream zone and into my own world. It's like I was physically sitting there in the building, but I might be checking out auras in the class, or, I kind of went into my own brain school, if that makes sense, because I was so bored out of my mind. With my kids, I have had them in Steiner, like, throughout the whole of their education, and my oldest she'll be 15 this year. And I sort of saw it as the lesser of the two evils, I guess, because it did allow them to talk about, different parts of, nature, but also, the different realms. Like, it does kind of look at the spiritual realms and things, and it talks about the spiritual senses. So I felt like they could be a little bit more free in that environment to, not have that side shut down and to still have, like, the love and the nurturing side from the teachers, as opposed to with the mainstream where they're not so hands-on with the kids. But for me, I try and balance that out with also, keeping them open on sort of like a psychic level too. And whenever I'd sort of look at things, as an early on as a parent, we do kind of get into the fear side of things, what will I do if my child's sick, or, what am I going to do later with, like if they've got to go out by themselves, things like that. And I just thought that's fear. So I really brought it back to just trying to encourage and nurture their own intuitions. And if they've got strong intuition, then a lot of the time they are going to make the right choice and the right decision. So I've just tried to keep them open sort of on a psychic level, but also with intuition. And we make it fun. Pete and I, we'll sort of play with the kids in, oh, did you see that energy? And, things like that. And you really can see it with the little ones. The older ones, you always sort of get like a bit of a rebel.
Especially the teenagers,
whatever you're interested in, they think sucks. But that does eventually come sort of full circle. But we took the kids on a nature walk a few weeks ago and filmed
a Bigfoot documentary with one of our friends. We actually had some interactions going on and stuff too, and the kids were with us for that, like
we had the two young ones with us, and that's, we just kind of, I don't know, it's like we try and keep the two worlds open for them so that they can make decisions.
But there needs to be a reform. Like, for example, some of the teachers are having a hard time with these high energy kids, and
that's happening in kinder at the moment too.
Oh no, but it's happening everywhere. And the problem is that, like, they're being taught a load of crap, but at the same time, it's like this. Now, we look at something like, and this is a man thing, but the jet. So we've got an SR-71 spy plane that's apparently still the fastest jet in the world, going back to the 60s, or the highest altitude flying one. Now, that people still think there's nothing faster or more technologically advanced. So what I'm saying is, we're still using the same friggin' teaching methods 60 years ago or what, and the kids are at a higher level of consciousness today just because they're exposed to more. You put an iPad in front of a 3-year-old, they can use it better than a full-grown adult. So this is where they're trying to teach kids with a stupid friggin' system where that needs to be updated, and the kids need to be like... the problem with a lot of the teachers is the teachers give the kids a mathematical equation, something they give them, we want you to add this together. The kid goes, bang, 86, that's the answer. How'd you get it?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, who gives a shit how I got it? That's the answer. You want me to explain this? It's because it's so low level.
Yeah.
And this is where everything there needs to be a change, and especially like where we're from. I wrote a book lately called The Book of Shiji, and this is one of the beings I interact with. I got that done by Kasara. Very similar. Now, in the book, she talks about how where we're from, a lot of us in the other planes and realms, there are schooling type systems, but you do what you're made for, what you have a love and a passion about. Now, you could be really good at something, and then something comes into, in this incarnation that you might be interested in media. Now, you might not have an idea how to do media, but they will support and love you and give you the education needed to go and do that as well as what you're meant to do, and to give you a go at it. Because that's what you've also got a passion about. Here, they don't do that. It's you go to college so you can pass a test that we say is yes or no answers. It's like, all right, HSC or Year 12, we're going to give you questions to the lies and limited education we want to give you, and if you answer that load of crap properly, we'll give you a certificate so you can go and learn more bull crap, and then we'll give you a certificate saying you can be a doctor and, give people bull crap, pharmaceuticals and everything else. So this is where it's been a big passion of mine for people to see this, because it's so multi-layered, and it all starts with the programming at school that as soon as kids go to school these days, it's you finish Year 12, go to university, get a certificate, and then you probably owe 100G to friggin' the government for your education to a job. I know that many people that train to be a doctor and spent, I don't know how many thousands of dollars, and they can't become a doctor because there's no places for them in Australia. So they've spent their whole 20 up to 30s studying to be a doctor, and there's no place for them. All in a system that's been tailored for that.
At the same time, there is a lot of doctors, though, that are embracing, natural health and things as well. And that's kind of where we're at, where there needs to be some kind of merging with the old and with the new.
Same with technology and spirituality. There's got to be that balance.
And also, if you look at the growth with technology, just over the last 30 years alone, it's surpassing everything that happened before that. Just the way that it's taken off, it's incredible. But so has the growth of consciousness and the growth of these new waves of children that are coming in. It's all like a parallel.
Yes.
But it does come down to, like, all right, we're bringing up good points and good points that are negative as well, in terms of the energy behind them and everything else. So it comes down to, what do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do? You know what I mean? Because this is the problem. It's like, and me and Sol have been talking about this lately, whether it's people we know or whatever, everyone is quick to judge and point the finger.
Yes.
Now, there's one way you go about this. Why is this happening?
Yes.
That's what I always ask. I've grown up around, drugs and bad people or whatever, and the question was, I look at them doing that, I'm going, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, I don't agree with rape and drugs and murder and all that, but why do people do this stuff?
Yes.
Why are we in the predicament we're in? And it's because we've allowed this to happen. We take... So, for example, if we had a terrorist attack tomorrow or something bad happen, a natural disaster, we put our power automatically in the emergency services and the police, which the emergency services and police, we need them. They help out, they regulate, but when it comes to government, it's like putting your power in the hands of somebody that's lying to you the whole time.
Yeah.
So what do? We take some self-responsibility and we just work on ourselves. Yeah. And that's the best conclusion I can come to so far about why is this happening. It's because we're giving our power away. What do we do with it? We connect with the God within and we project what we want outside of us. Now, that might seem far-fetched to a lot of people, but that's the best thing I can come to from my experiences
Well, some people
on what
would
the hell
say-
do we do about this.
That's where I was talking about before with like connecting with the intuition.
Yeah.
So for some people, it might just be connecting with the intuition, but for others, it might go to that level of like connecting with your God self and your higher self and things like that.
And I don't mean in a religious sense. I mean in the experiences I've had. I've been all that is.
Yeah.
I've seen. It's almost like a life review, and you feel like crap on what you've done to everyone, but then you're shown it's all an illusion. And that this is all collecting experiences and gaining knowledge for your overall higher self, and that everyone's experience has to be different, or else this wouldn't even be worth doing. And then you realise that you're part of other universes, that is part of a greater intelligence, and that's where I had to stop. Because I'm like, this is enough for me now, I can't operate beyond this.
Yeah.
But this is where, you're right, it goes into intuition, and when I mean God's self, it's the all that is part and that sort of connection there. And then you can deal with this a lot easier, I think, too.
Also, another experience that we've both been shown lately is just that non-judgment for self as well. And also, with the stuff that we do and the work that we do as well, you do sometimes feel like you do get judged, from family members and things like that, thinking that you are a little bit crazy, or, they kind of make fun and pick at, different things. And for us, it's kind of about, trying to just go, I'm just not going to put up with anyone's judgment.
I've told my own family, my birth mother and dad, that I'll kick your ass to the curb. It's like Jesus coming back. It's like, do you think Jesus wants to hang around people with the cross saying, oh, remember you on a cross?
Yeah.
Do you want to hang around people that make you feel like shit?
Yeah.
Or that make you have fun and feel good about life and you learn and have a good time? What do you want?
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of parents, and the parents need to know this, a lot of them, what they do is a manipulation technique that if you don't grow and become what I pictured you as, I'll make you feel like shit, so you do it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'll manipulate you so you do it. And this is where the best parenting is, you're your own being. Yeah. I'm here to help give you tips and tools on how to be a person.
Yeah.
Your creation of our love in the manifestation in the physical realm.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've got to let you, and this is the thing, parents need to let the kids make mistakes. So I think the biggest thing that kids need to learn, Bart, coming into this realm is that, and a lot of them are in tune with it, that are having experiences, but what you do, if you screw up and it affects you, that's cool. It's not good if you break your leg or whatever, get a cut, but it's when what you do affects other people.
Yeah.
That's where I got to draw the line personally, because that's where you're imposing your way on everyone else around you, where you don't want that done to you. So if you want to go and do this, go and do that, cool. And when you make the mistakes, you got to learn it doing it yourself.
Yes.
In a practical way. But when your stuff starts to affect other people, that's where there's got to be a talking to or a drawing line, because again, it's imposing your will or whatever on somebody else.
But also, like, looking at the judgment aspect of things, again, there's so much of us, as adults that have been through these kind of experiences that don't fully come out. And so there is a lot of people, coming out of the closet or whatever you want to call it, in terms of, what they've seen, what they've experienced. And we do kind of shut ourselves down to an extent too. But, if you can let go of that self-judgment, what will everyone think about me, or, things like that, we can actually progress a lot faster on our soul's journey as well. And you're just going to gain more and more, heightened experiences, and that the more that you can let go of 3D physical judgment and things, which a lot of the time is projected to keep us down from, government, from media, things like that. You have to act this certain way in order to fit into a society and, things like that. A lot of it is outside created type stuff. And if we can all get back to the essence of who we are and break down those paradigms and shifts, you can really get like a massive vision for where we can go and what direction.
And do you feel like also with that self-judgment and also guilt, sometimes can stem in some situations from anxiety? Like, I've heard you talk about this in other interviews, Peter, that the anxiety that people experience from having experiences and being judged can either shut it down or almost even make you judgmental of others, or be in a complete state of anxiety to the point where you can't function in this world.
And that's what I've gone through and continue. I've got insomnia, I've got anxiety, I've got OCD, and I think it's some of it's been put upon me from trying to stop me to connecting, but at the same time, it's mainly from society. You know, I think my rap career paved the way for me to put up with crap, because you just get it's like, even in the UFO field, I get more crap from people in the UFO field than I do outside of it. It's like if you're a tenant, you know, it doesn't matter what arena you're in, it's like as if you get more crap in line of your work than those outside of your work. You know what I mean? It's just in general. And
I don't get that so much.
No, well, you don't. Yeah. But this is where you ruffle a few feathers, but everyone loves you.
We all love you.
Yeah. But, no, it is a good point. And, look, the anxieties thing is where, look, really anxiety's energy.
Yeah.
That's what I've come to understand. Like, before I used to do a show, I would want to spew my guts up or, you know, smoke the biggest joint, so I did not feel the energy when I went on a stage, because I didn't realise what I was feeling was everyone else's crap. Their energies. I even said to a friend today that at the moment my life is 100% perfect, because I've realised something. All that's been worrying me is other people's shit. Not me. Whether it's been connected family, connected friends, the internet, it's all other people's stuff. And I've actually cleaned up my baggage so much that I've said, like, it's amazing, isn't it? Like,
he's different to when I met him back in June last year. The amount that he has changed, and just, you know, old habits, things like that, have just fallen away. And he's a new person.
But it's the controlling thing too, where Sol was saying before, you've got to, and I've learned to just let go now. But I believe that a lot of
a rubber band, can only get to a certain extent before something has to snap and change.
Yes.
But I believe a lot of the anxiety and everything, and especially why the kids have got it, is because they're energy sensitive, and that isn't meant to be real. You're not meant to be able to sense other people's energies. Now, when you walk into a room, and women tend to have it more than men, because I've talked to my mum about this, and it's like, my mum will say something about what somebody's thinking. I'm like, how do you know that? She doesn't. She's assuming that. So what she's done automatically is, from the energy wherever she's approached, she's created this reality in her head. And you go and talk to the person, and they're not even thinking what she said. So, and I love my mum more than anyone. You know, everyone knows. But this is a thing where she's assuming, and what... that's created, like, imagination is creation. So her even assuming that is manifesting, that into this reality, what she's trying to solve.
She's actually very good at manifesting in a positive way.
Yeah, and she's very psychic, my mother. But this is where, what I've learned with a lot of anxiety is exactly me taking on other people's crap and their energies, where you don't have to do that. Yeah. You know? And I think what happens is, once you realise that why you're feeling that anxiety is because of the energy... it's like, shit, what can I use this for? What can I... And this is where I've been able to use it for guide sessions and connecting with other people's beings.
But that's where the bark flowers and the essential oils come in so handy to support kids that are, you know, experiencing things like that. It doesn't totally rid their life of that, but it helps support them. Because
right now, we've got energy bands that go out 10 foot or more around us, or people call our Merkaba or our light body. Hers are entwined with aura. Ours is entwined now like this. But when you walk into a room full of people, or even if it's psychically over the telephone, there is an interaction of energetic bands. And it's like this, for an example. We've talked about this lately. You can meet somebody, they're beautiful, they seem cool, but you just don't like them. And they've done nothing wrong to you. What I've learned is the energy bands just won't resonate. There's too much friction. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. It just, you don't like them.
And
you know what I mean? This is where when you walk into a room, if you've got anxiety, imagine one person walking into a school classroom and having to take on 30 energy bands.
Yeah.
And the intention is to program you from a high, or they say highly evolved energy band, which is a teacher. you know, it can cause some
Yes,
friction.
But that also is a good point too, what you just said about that, because I've always been able to fit in and kind of blend in life, and I think that I knew how to blend my energy or to kind of, you know, become part of the whole, or even though I was, you know, uniquely a little bit strange or different, you know, with seeing things and stuff like that. But I think that that's also skills that we can use for kids that are struggling for fitting in and things like that, is to teach them energy techniques and things where they can actually blend and kind of even sometimes hide their energy when they feel like that things are just a little bit too much, you know, teach them to kind of go offline in a way. But also what you talked about with the energy bands too, when you feel like that you've got friendships or relationships, things like that, and you feel like things just aren't making sense anymore, sometimes it's that your energy's vibrating at different frequencies or different rates, and that you've come out of alignment. So you can choose to let go of that stuff. And it's funny how sometimes you'll be, say, in a same room or something with someone and you feel that you're not really in alignment so much. Sometimes they won't even see you. It's like you're totally offline. Yeah. So more of that sort of stuff's happening now as well.
Yeah. I think, you know, like I experienced as a kid, like I could always feel everything, and it is very overwhelming. It's probably something else to draw attention to parents with kids who seem like they're, you know, dropouts or daydreamers or, you know, all of the other negative things that are given to someone who can walk into a room and feel everyone's energy. And when you're a child and you know that it's a lie that you're walking into, it's actually just so overwhelming that really your only choice is to shut down. That's how I felt. That was my only choice, is to daydream or shut down, or and not in a positive way. In a, I was always well liked and everything, but just as far as being engaged in this earth reality, it was like my only choice was to disengage. So I feel like then that, you know, can happen with teenagers whose parents are really frustrated that they're not engaging in the way that they would like, is that maybe they can entertain the idea that that might be happening for them, that they might be feeling everyone's energy, you know, like something bad happened to that guy the night before and he can feel it, and you know, that girl's feeling suicidal and he can feel it, but doesn't know what to do about it or how to process it in a positive way. That is a very real reality for a lot of kids.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, getting kids into, I don't know if it's the same up where you are in Byron, but in Melbourne we have like pranic healing for kids, which teaches them how to like cleanse and, you know, release energies, things like that, how to do healing, because kids are natural healers too. They don't have that shut down.
Yes.
I think things like that can really help kids become energy conscious and know what to do with it when they are feeling overwhelmed. That can really, I think it's a life skill that we need. Just, you know, like tying shoes, things like that.
Yeah, I think that maybe if, you know, when we were talking about what do we do, what do we create, I think that would be just one of the really great things to have in an education system is life skills like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'd love to touch on, before we finish up, the project that you're a part of, Peter Free.
Yeah.
Which is the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. I watched your interview the other day with Mary and...
Oh, Giles and Ray?
Yep. And I loved sort of what you said about paving the way, that you see... free is a very broad thing, and I'd love you to go in just a little bit to what it's about for anyone who wants to look more into it. But I loved what you said about it's paving the way so that what older people have had to go through in feeling alienated and not a part of it, that projects like this are going to pave the way for a safer environment for people to express these things and for it to be embraced as a normal part of reality.
Free was created by Ray Hernandez, Mary, and Christina Knowles, I think, was the other lady. Mm-hmm. And it's, like you said, it's the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Experiences, I think, if I got that right. We've got people on the board like Edgar Mitchell, who's the sixth man on the moon, physicists like Dr. Rudy Shields. There's people from all different disciplines, from all walk of life, who've got top credentials in their field. A large majority are experiences. We've even got people like Whitley Strieber involved, and Like, it's a ridiculously huge, awesome list of people from around the world. My understanding at the moment is they're putting together like a database of basically an academic study or questions, which is the first of its type, which you could basically produce to any university or college, and it's done the same way they would do a study on any subject.
Statistics.
Yeah, statistics. So it's like the first time ever that it's done in such a way that really an academic source can't knock this back, because it's done in the way they do their study. So look at the amount of people, like there's already 500 and something people that have done the questionnaire, which if you go to experiencer.co, I think on the left-hand side of the page there, you can take it yourself, and it takes 5-10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And it's really, I think the aim later on is to maybe get a type of show coming from it where they could cover all the different fields, saying that we're all having similar experiences, how it affects them, that the near-death experience is connected with all this, which I've seen all this. Also, it's a place where it's almost like ACERN, which is the Australian Close Encounter Resource Network, which I'm a part of, which Mary created. It's like that on crack worldwide, really. It's huge the way this is being done. And there's a forum there, so lots of people can sort of, go to the forum, share experiences, ask questions. I myself, my part in it is helping what experiences I can and to help get the word out. I'm doing the best that I can to help Free in terms of what I can, in terms of how busy I am myself. And especially with Mary, Mary's so busy as well, and everyone, there's a large majority of people that are involved with it have got their own work and everything going on like that. But I highly recommend people go and check it out. And it is very important to me, because I've had to go through a lot of crap, and I don't want the kids to go through what I've gone through. I could be so much more developed and somewhere else now. And look, my experience was made to be what it is. So I'm not saying poor little me, but when I'm having trouble getting the family along in terms of, we're all working our ass off, but because of my, my anxiety and OCD and that sort of stuff, it limits me. But the limit's only what I allow it to be. But the crap that I've had to go through, I don't want kids to go through, because they're seen as, or they believe in aliens, or they're mentally ill, or whatever people want to class. Like, the doctors don't even know what to do with me, because I can show them footage, I can show them witnesses. They don't know what to do with me. And because we're in a world where you're meant to work 9 to 5 and pay taxes, like we're saying, we can't do that. That's not why. Why, dude? Like, it's a friggin' slave mentality to even allow yourself to do that. You know what I mean? So this is where I don't want people to go through what I've gone through. And hopefully through Free, in maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years, the kids, when they're adults, hadn't had to go through what I've had to go through. It's more socially accepted. It's more socially thought of.
Yeah.
Right? Like, right now, I've got more evidence, along with lots more of other people, to say that what I'm going through is more real than the Bible that you swear on in court, which you can't even prove a frigging thing about except for the locations in it and maybe some of the material type things in it. It's ridiculous.
It is.
And this is how the world's ran today. And that's not to say I believe in many of the ancient saints and sages and masters of all, but the way things are being manipulated, like their teachings, and now that they're used to make us feel bad if we don't do what we're told to do, I don't want society to go through this. It hurts, because not only is it stopping humanity evolve, it's stopping the solar system, the galaxy, and in turn the universe and the other universes from being at its full potential.
Yeah.
So...
Also to mention, on the Free website as well, there is a list of people who do counselling for experiences
all around the world, different spots.
Also, I'm on there too, to do with psychic work I do, and the aura drawings, and helping people really connect with the beings that are around them.
Awesome.
There's also Lee Kerr, who's our Australian talk group lady, and she does regressions as well, like Mary Rodwell.
You can see a couple of regressions she's done. There's one regression up of what Mary did for me, and two what Lee did, but Lee was the founder, or one of the co-founders of Talk, which Sol is a part of as well.
So it is a really good kind of like one-stop shop for, an overall array of different modalities that are really tailored to people that are having contact experience, but so is the ASN website, the Talk Group website, and Pete's website. All of those have very valuable information.
And look, if you're in Australia and this shit's going on, I'll tell you what, you're so lucky, because we've got so many people from around the world coming to us because they've got nowhere to go to overseas.
Yes.
But the amount of people coming to Mary and myself and others, I'm like, what the hell is going on elsewhere? And like, so if you're in Australia, you're in a lucky location, and it doesn't make it any easier. But you know, at least there's more research or people you can talk to or help readily available to connect with. But I've got to say, I keep on seeing you as a cat being in a Pleiadian. Two different things, and there's a Lyran connection in Sirius as well. But anyway. I had to kick our cats out. I love cats too, but there's a huge cat connection with you anyway. Sorry, I just had to say that. I just said it the whole time.
Also, for those viewers that are overseas too, a lot of the people that are on the free website do have Skype. So it's not that you have to physically travel to that destination.
Like even we'll talk about with you that Mary can even do regressions over Skype,
and Lee.
And Lee Kerr as well. You'd probably be better off going to Lee because I think Mary's backing down because it's just getting too full on and she's looking at teaching others. She still does it, but it's, you know, there's other ways you can go about it. If you can't travel the bloody, you know, whatever kilometres or miles, you know, there's always Skype.
And do you do some of your stuff, both of you, via Skype?
Yeah, mostly. So most of my clients are international, so all different countries from America, Kuwait, India, Belgium, really all over the places. You get the most surprising emails that have similar things in it. So people all across the world having similar experiences.
Yeah, most of my clients are from overseas, so we get a lot in person that come and visit the home.
Yeah.
But I'm really noticing at the moment, the last month, I've had a lot of people come to me and they've got a huge Arcturian connection. There's like a Arcturian wave waking up here on Earth at the moment. And it's funny because we get similar stuff and we won't cross-correlate on... Because sometimes I'll get a client and then they'll go to Soul or vice versa. And it's funny when we talk about it later because we don't tell anyone, but it's just the same information. We're like, oh, you got that too, did you? It's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Also with Kasara's work too, because she does the beautiful the soul drawings and things, and it's quite often that I'll get one of Kasara's clients or she'll get one of mine.
You know what yours about?
Yep, I think so.
Because what soul does is like Kasara will.
We get similar information.
Yeah, so Kasara or Christine Dennett and Soul, they get very similar information. So Christine Dennett will draw like a guide or something where Soul will, like she does a meditation drawing and give you a couple of pieces of paper on what she got in the meditation. Soul's drawings is basically connecting with your guides and drawing them out and what's connected. So this is sort of the stuff that Soul does.
Yep.
So that's you, like whoever the person is. And then these are like the beings and symbolism and stuff that's connected.
You get a bit of script and star language sometimes around some of the beings.
Yeah, so you can see all the little different... There's so many different types of beings and it's just awesome what Soul does because there's nothing like it that I've seen out there.
Yeah.
And we do get similar different information. It's like everyone does stuff different. So what you would get from Soul or Kasara or myself, it will be different. There'll be overlaps, which I guess are confirmation for the client.
That's what we have a lot of the clients say. They go, you know, it's just such good confirmation because a lot of the time they'll have experiences or different things come up and then it'll come up in a reading with them or you'll connect with, you know, the kind of like star or planet of origin where they feel connected and it just helps to give them like a greater sense of themselves in a galactic view.
Yeah.
And I do also like energy healing. We're looking at doing workshops. We're going to come up and try and do a workshop with you and Byron soon. And we're going to do one in Bali.
Yeah.
And also heading to the States a bit later this year as well.
And we do CE5 where we just, it's just a label term, but we basically set an intent, take people out and like you can see, I think there's at least over 100 videos of crafts up on my website or links to it. Like I've filmed over 1,000 crafts now since I think 2010. We've had way more sightings, but it's just taking people out to connect, whether it's on-ground activity, which a lot of people experience in the sky. Really what that's about is initiating contact as a group and giving people tips and tools to go home and connect, because a lot of people don't realise they're already connected and got contacts. And this just puts it in a more physical light when they go home, so that we've got to do it as a collective, but the main thing is you have a balance. Again, it comes back to balance of contact as a group and then contact individually. Yeah. Because it's different things. So, yeah, we've got lots going on at the moment. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
The last question I've got is one I ask everyone, because at some stage I'm going to put it all together into a beautiful big vision. And it's, what would your vision be for the education system of the future? What do you think that would have in it?
Mine might be a bit far out there.
No.
Yes, so. This is something I haven't heard her say, so come on.
The first word that comes to mind is, okay, there's a beautiful movie that's a kids movie called The Last Mimsy. And in one of the scenes, they've got this teacher that's teaching children outside. They're all sort of gathered around, sitting on the earth. And there's kind of like a telepathic component to the story that she's teaching. I just feel like that that's one thing that, if you look at trying to merge what's happening with, beings and different things around us and the spiritual side of things, I feel like one thing that can enhance and sort of bring us closer to that and get information from both worlds is if we can connect with both humanity on a telepathic level. There'll be less violence and less, hurting people's feelings, things like that, because you will feel that empathy a lot greater. But also you'll be able to receive messages from guides and things like that, and other beings that are around us, just living outside this frequency or outside this vibration. Because if you look at it, layers of like curtains, it's at the moment, these curtains are becoming thinner and there's far less curtains. So I feel like that for me with the new kids is sort of like a step that I really see being apparent. Might not seem so real in a physical 3D way. Also there's a Japanese guy, I think his name was Makoto Shoshida. So here in Melbourne and in Japan and worldwide, there's Shoshida schools, which are set up for high-speed memory learning. But the parts of what I liked, because I actually went and learned from him before he passed away, what I really loved about it was that he was talking about nurturing the soul of the child being the most important thing. He also was talking about connecting and working with ESP and intuition and meditation and breath work. So really connecting back to your own self so that you can use your brain as like a high-speed computer. But along with these teachings was sort of more connecting, more in a telepathic way, was kind of what was coming out as the result for, kids meditating and doing the breath work, and that was that they were kind of more connected on that higher level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just looking at her hair, I reckon it's hot. She just got it done. No.
Thank you. You're a jag.
Look, I think it comes back to a balance. And I think I learnt more at school. I had this cool teacher, and this teacher, I won't say his name, but he let me go and smoke and do all the naughty things so I could just finish year 10. Yeah. But when we first had him, he went into the class and put out a newspaper, and he goes, 99% bullshit, and threw it down. And then he said, books, you're not going to use your books once in my class. Because he was engaging, because he was entertaining, and he was full of knowledge, we were active listening and just recording this stuff in our brain. We all did best in his class out of any other class. Now, like Albert Einstein says, and it's 100%, it's what's happening now. To solve any problem, you need a higher level of consciousness that created the problem in the first place. So with schools, I see there being, in the future, for example, a large percentage of the time, people embracing what they want to do and what they're good at. Mm. So that makes it fun straight away.
Yes.
And then I see a balance on education in terms of a well-rounded education, whether it's spirituality, exercise, health, eating, nutrition, sustainability, all these different areas, having a balance. So mainly your focus is on what you're good at and what you want to do, and then everything else that you should just, generally know, there being a well-rounded, balanced time spent in these different areas. But then again, like the reason why we're here is to experience and gain knowledge in every single way. That's one of the meanings of life, which I've been shown from when Source exploded itself within itself. But it's again coming down to what program do you want? So we create our realities through our thoughts. So I'd like things in time to there to be that connection to Source, which I think with the higher level of vibration and consciousness, we will all get and manifest a reality that we're also strongly seeking to have. But I think, you know, there will be a future where there's that real, you know, this is how it's done in the other planes, but what's happening here, and I just saw some trippy stuff, what's happening here is things are upraising that quick that we're not just going to go to where, like the Pleiades, for example, where they are is the future. What we're doing here is going to far surpass a lot of things, because we're not just going to the next level. We're jumping. It's like we're catapulting forward where we've got to make up for lost time. So once the shift's already happened, but once the consciousness wave catches up to where we should be, it's going to be like, instead of going, you know, 50 kilometres, you're going to go 200 kilometres and then back down to 50. And continue on the pace where we should have been. Right. There's going to be like a jolt forward, and it's going to be so far advanced that I don't think people can perceive it. I don't even perceive disclosure happening how people want disclosure to happen, because we are special beings. Now, no one's more special than anyone else, but we can do things that a lot of other beings can't, because we're a mixture of them. That's what people don't realise. And we're actually living lives as many different beings as once, but the human experience, more than anything, is a self-mastery experience. So this is where we've got education and everything else, but I believe that once we start to connect with our own self and master ourselves, whether it's emotions, thought, love, and everything else, how we treat one another, and Gaia, the Earth, which affects the solar system and beyond, that's where it's like education is going to be, Because from what I've learnt with self-mastery here, you basically will ascend, and a lot of the ascended ones have come back to help at this time, and this is where you're getting to realms that are like angelic type realms, which you can only access through a like ascended type consciousness. So really here is the test of all tests. Education and everything, it's got to be done little steps at a time, but there will be, I think, a catapult.
Yeah.
But I see everyone embracing their own qualities.
You can see that through, like, I've got quite a few homeschool friends as well, and, you know, teaching kids about practical things that we need here as well, you know, like sustainability and farming, things like that. I think we're going back to a balance of the whole.
Yeah.
And, you know, this higher spirituality stuff is just one part of that puzzle.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
All right.
I love your visions. I support them wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for coming on today. I thank you both so deeply for walking the path that you have with such courage and grace. It's such a pleasure to have met you, and I really, really appreciate you spending time to share all of this with Luminous Youth people. And I'm sending lots of love.
Thank you for what you do,
so much, Erica.
It's important what you do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've had a lot of time too.
And we'll get up there soon.
Yes, so everyone can come and play.
Yeah.
Should be good.